Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Zumaira D. Makalimbang, and my topic is about early Islamic philosopher Al-Kindi. Al-Kindi was an Arab Muslim philosopher, mathematician, physician, and musician. Al-Kindi was the first of the Islamic peripatetic philosophers and held as the father of Arab philosophy. Al-Kindi was born in Kufa and educated in Baghdad. Aside from metaphysics, Al-Kindi was interested also in mathematics and natural sciences. Al-Kindi was best known as a philosopher, but he was also a mathematician and scientist of importance. Al-Kindi was an Islamic mathematician who wrote on the Indian number system as well as geometry and optics. His effort to study the whole encyclopedic range of sciences proved him to be a true follower of Aristotle. With regard to his strong inclination towards mathematics, he even surpassed Aristotle. He wrote a treatise entitled that philosophy cannot be acquired except with a knowledge of mathematics. His predilection for mathematics is emphasized also in his treatise on definitions and descriptions of things. Many of the definitions are expressed in a double way. Physically, in Arabic means zihat al-tab, and mathematically, in Arabic means zihat al-ta'lim. It was also in the field of mathematical computation that he exerted his greatest authority as teacher. His two famous pupils, namely Jafar ibn Muhammad ibn Umar al-Balkhi, the Al-Bumasar in medieval Latin literature, and Abul Abbas Ahmad ibn al-Tayyib as-Sarax, who continued and enlarged the mathematical research on their teacher. Al-Kindi's strong inclination for mathematics probably influenced also the so-called Brethren of Purity in the late 4th-10th century. Favoring practical application of science, Al-Kindi elaborated a system of calculating the efficacy of medical drugs. This became necessary since the physicians moved over from simple to compound drugs. The first physician recorded as having used compound drugs was Abul Hakam from Damascus. In order to achieve the intended efficacy, the pharmacist had to calculate the right proportion of the ingredients of the drug. Al-Kindi undertook to divide the medical ingredients into grades according to the strength of their curative properties. He was also the author of many treatises and handbooks of medical and pharmaceutical concern. In one of these medical treatises, recently found, Al-Kindi again connected medicine with mathematics by giving the rule for calculating in advance the critical days of a developing disease. Being the quickest planet in the firmament, the moon was held to influence acute diseases. On certain days of the lunar monthly revolution, the diseases were held to change for the better or the worse. This theory, already expounded by Galen, was further elaborated by Al-Kindi. Al-Kindi's mathematical curiosity did not halt even before the Holy Scripture. He wrote a treatise on the duration of the reign of the Arabs and bases calculation upon the letters at the head of 29 chapters of the Quran. They form 14 enigmatic words that contain 14 different letters out of the 28 letters of the Arabic alphabet. By adding the numerical value of each of these letters, counting only once those letters which are repeated several times, one receives the approximate number of years of Arab rule until the Mongols in 656 to 1258 conquered Baghdad and Arab hegemony was lost forever. It is generally held that Al-Kindi's philosophy is in harmony with the Muslim creed. This is supported, for example, by the argument that Al-Kindi speaks on creation out of nothing. It should be kept in mind, however, that in his treatise on definitions and descriptions of things, Al-Kindi speaks on the existence of an upper world that is above the world of creation. This is incompatible with the Muslim faith. The same is true with regard to the theory of emanation, which opposes the article of faith that the world was created in one instant by God's command. It is difficult, if not impossible, to give a conclusive judgment of an author whose literary work has been preserved only to a very small extent. Nevertheless, the treatises that have come down to us, and even Al-Nadim's bibliographical list that contains the titles of Al-Kindi's writings, allow us to express an approximate evaluation of Al-Kindi as philosopher and scientist. Such an evaluation has to take into account that Al-Kindi could not have recourse to any of his co-linguists. There were, it is true, also men besides Al-Kindi who commissioned scientific translation or translated themselves, like the sons of Musa ibn Shakir, Unayn ibn Ishaq, Thabit ibn Qurra, and Umar ibn al-Farrukan, as we are told by Abu Mashar. But Al-Kindi was the first to transfer Greek philosophy systematically from foreign literary sources and to channel it into his Islamic environment, where philosophy was received with coldness and even with hostility. At some time in his life, he enjoyed the support of the Caliph, but like most of the later philosophers, he had no authority as an academic teacher because there was no official philosophy teaching. He kept himself aloof through his choice of language from colliding with the orthodox faithful or the mutakallimun. Apart from metaphysics, he engaged in research on almost all the natural and mathematical sciences. Through Latin translations, Al-Kindi influenced medieval European philosophers. They became acquainted with works from the whole spectrum of his literary output, especially with those that dealt with natural sciences and mathematics. That's all. Thank you.